This week, I'm painting up a Biel-Tan Autarch from the new Eldritch Omens box set. I'm Angela, and are you sure this outfit's appropriate for the Eldar? I feel like it's a little bit more Tau. I mean, it's not even green.
I hear what you're saying, but the Eldar do have mech pilots.
You know, that's true. That's true.
And they are responsible for the birth of Slaanesh.
You know what? That's good enough for me. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night, now let's get to it. Like many of you out there, I have been waiting for Games Workshop to update the Eldar Codex and the range of models for the line for a very long time. You see, the Chaos Cultist's first army for Warhammer 40k was Eldar, but he sold it well before we knew each other, which I've always thought is a little bit of a shame. And I have always wanted to build back up that Eldar army for him, and I think now is the perfect opportunity because the aspect warriors that he likes are finally being made into plastic. There's a whole line of new models out there. So this is the start of our Eldar army. We're gonna be painting something up in a Biel-Tan color scheme, which is what his old army was. And for those of you that don't know, that is a green and white dominant color scheme. I'm very excited for this. We're gonna be playing with a mix of both contrast paints and speed paints, as well as some metallics. So without further ado, let's head to the hobby desk and I'll show you what I did.
What are you thinking about?
How I'm going to handle all of her little details. So I just finished building my Autarch. I'm very happy with her. She came out great. I ultimately decided to just completely fully build her because at one point I did actually debate keeping her in a few pieces by having the backpack and the cape off because it would make painting her backside a little bit easier. But then I realized I wasn't sure if the struggle that it would be to get the backpack and cloak on once I had already attached this arm, I just didn't know if that was gonna be worth it. So ultimately I just decided, screw it, I'm gonna build her completely. We're going to deal with the sort of awkwardness of painting some of those more hidden areas as we go. And now I'm debating how I want to actually paint her up. I know I'm going with a Biel-Tan color scheme.
Yeah, you are.
Heck yeah. It's going to be awesome. I've also honestly just been wanting to play with some greens recently anyways. But I don't know what I'm going to do fully for her details or the weapons. So I have to decide that. But we also need to get her primed up. I think I'm going to go with Wraithbone because I do want to go with some white armor, but I want there to be a little bit of a warmth underneath because I feel like Biel-Tan green has a little bit of a undertone of blue. So I want the warm whites to help pull that back together. I think it's going to look good. Let's get painting. Now that the model has been primed up in Wraithbone, I want to go ahead and focus on some of the more hard to reach, difficult areas of the model to avoid a lot of cleanup later on, honestly. And the area that has me the most concerned is the underside of her cape, which I want to be black. So I'm going to be pulling out black Templar and applying a couple of coatings of this to the underside. If I get any black on the back sides of the legs, which I do, I can just do a cleanup stage and I don't have to worry about it, and it's not going to mess up any of the white armor I'm applying later. I also want to use this color Black Templar on some of the weapons. The entire gun is going to be painted in this color, as well as the blade and grip on the glaive. Next, I want to go ahead and start taking care of that Biel-Tan color scheme, which is predominantly white and green, and we're going to start with the white. And I'm going to use Holy White for this, because as I've discussed a few times on some of my videos before, but I'm going to talk about again now, Holy White is a little bit more of a warm white color tone than, say, Apothecary White from the contrast line from Citadel. And that's perfect for this particular model because Wraithbone, the armor material that the Eldar armor is made of, is supposed to be an organic material, and I want it to look a little bit organic. So I'm hoping that warm color tone is going to help me achieve that. And after mixing this paint together with a little bit of speed paint medium to aid in the flow, we're going to apply it to the entire portion of the armor as well as a mild amount of the glaive. I want the handle to be white as well to sort of complement with the look we're going with. After that, we're going to move on to the green. And for this, we chose Orc Green. It is a beautiful emerald green color tone that I think works perfectly for the Biel-Tan. And we're gonna apply this to the cape, which does take a couple of layers, as well as a few key locations on the armor, specifically around her waist where the belt is, and a couple of details on the glaive itself. This way, it's not the predominant color, but it is still there and it's still very, very vivid, which is exactly what I want.
What's going on here? This isn't recorded painting footage. What happened?
I thought I hit the record button while I was painting his cool symbol on his back, and I didn't. And I'm kind of bummed about it because it looks really cool. And I held my hand there in a like sort of awkward position, but look at it. It's pretty. I like it. Now the other color we need to take care of for the armor is leather. And for that, I'm going to go to Hardened leather because it is my new favorite leather color tone. It just works super well. I think the warmth really complements with the white color tone, and it's also going to work with one of the metallics we use later. This goes on smoothly and beautifully, and I just love how she's looking already. It's that time of the video where I interrupt to tell you about my Patreon. And to let you know that we just added a Discord server, which all tiers get access to. So if you're wanting a way to chat with me, share with me your projects, or just tell me what board games you're playing, definitely make sure to check the link below and check out my Patreon. We finished the armor, the cape, and a little bit on the weapons, but now we need to really focus on the gun and the glaive, and we're gonna be focusing with some metallics now. The first color I'm going to be playing with is Filigree Silver for all of that filigree on the armor and the pouches. It's super appropriate. Didn't even know that was the name of the paint, but when I saw it, I was like, great, this is gonna be perfect. Now, the reason I chose this particular silver color tone is because it's very, very pale, and I think that works really well with the bone white of the armor. That does mean it takes a little bit of extra effort to get this color more obviously on the model, so I do have to apply a couple different layers, meaning it takes a little bit of extra time because it's a lot of delicate work, but the end results are so worth it. After we're done with the silver, which does also go on the glaive's handle, or the glaive's blade rather, we're going to move on to working on the gun. And for that, I want to bring in the same color we used on Fugan on his gun. We're going to be bringing in Balthazar's gold for the tip and the fuel canister. Once we have that painted up, we're moving on to the gems. Now, as much as I loved the teal color tone that I used on Fugan, for the Biel-Tan, I'm going to go with a red spirit stone color. And for that, we're moving back to Gemstone, which is one of the Army Painter's red metallic paints. This is only gonna go on a few key locations, but it's going to really make these gems stand out differently from any of the other gems that I paint up in red later on the model. She is coming together swimmingly, and we're down to just the details, which only has 2 colors left. We're going to start with Athermatic Blue, which I'm going to be applying to the blade of the glaive to give it an ethereal glowy effect, because it's a star glaive, and it should be a little bit ethereal, a little bit cosmic. Once that's done, we're going to move on to our final color, which is Blood Angel's Red. I love what this does to the model. It completely brings her together. The red is going to go on the plumage of her Howling Banshee helmet. It's also going to go on as a glaze over top the spirit stones that we've already painted. And then any other gems that I decide to pick out on the model, specifically some of the ones on her pouches, will also get a touch of this color, but it's not going to have that gemstone color beneath it. So it's going to have a little bit of a more different appearance from the spirit stones, making them really stand out as the important element on the model. I love the way this color tone is coming out, but we have a little bit more to take care of, so let's finish it up. I love how this model has turned out. The greens, I think, are perfect. The armor is honestly my favorite part. The holy white ended up working beautifully, but what really I think makes her come together is the pop of red with all of the stones as well as her helmet. I'm so pleased. But we aren't actually done yet, you guys. We aren't done. While she does look good, and I've already varnished her so that I can handle her fine, I do need to take care of the base. Now, she does come with a little bit of a sculpted base, and I'm going to be treating that pretty simply. I'm going to simply apply some Apothecary white over top of it so that I use a little bit of a different white color tone to the holy white that I put in the armor so that it actually stands out, but it's still very pale. Then what I'm going to do for the rest of the base to fill in the ground area around it is I'm going to do what I did on Fugan, but I'm going to treat the undercolor for the red a little bit differently. This time we're still going to put the brilliant red down first, but then we're also going to splash on a couple of like stripes of both an orange and a yellow so that we get some variety as the crackles form as we put down the Mordant earth, which is the topper we're going to put as our texture paint. This is a really nice deep black crackle paint from Citadel, and as you might have seen on the Fugan video, it crackles beautifully. I'm really hoping I get some cool looks out of this. Then we'll put the marble piece on top, put her there, and we can finally look at the finished piece. And here she is. I love this model, you guys. I actually just looked at her for the first time since I had finished painting her and she had fully dried and the varnish had finished sealing, and I'm absolutely blown away. You can ask the Chaos Cultist. I just stood there for like 30 seconds and went, whoa, because I just love how the armor turned out. Holy White is by far one of my favorite of the new Army Painter speed paints. It just works really beautifully, and I think it is different enough and unique enough from Apothecary White, which I used on the marble she's standing on, to actually stand out from each other. And I can't believe that. Like, I'm so happy to have that. You cannot imagine. I have been wanting more colors within this style of painting that I like, especially in the lighter tones. So having a new white to work with is just great. And I've gushed a lot about the armor and everything, but I also have to compliment both the red and the green that I used as well, because they just came out phenomenally. And the pop of boldness and saturation against that really pale Wraithbone armor, this model looks like what every time Chaos Cultist and I would look at Biel-Tan models from back in the day when he was originally collecting, and she feels like that vibe, which is exactly what I was going for with this particular project. It was really important to me to recapture the joy and like excitement that the Chaos Cultist got when looking at Biel-Tan figures, and I think I managed that. He absolutely loves it, which makes me love it even more. Plus, I just think that the combination of both contrast paints and the speed paints worked really well together. The metallics ended up complementing very well. The gun actually is also one of my favorite things. Like, really everything about this model I absolutely love, and if you don't stop me now, I'll just keep gushing about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up, give a huge thank you to my patrons for allowing content like this to continue to be made. Without your guys' support, we wouldn't be doing this. I also wanna just give you guys a thank you for watching this content, and make sure to like the video, subscribe if you wanna see more. In the meantime, I've been Angela, you've been watching Hobby Night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.